Now we have some practical demos from our GSOC students who participate in building Charmel. The first demo is by Ankit and the second by Namit.
Hey everyone, this is Namit Chandwani, and I'll be now giving a demo on the things that I've worked on in Charmil during this summer through GSOC. So let me start with the core component of Charmil, that is the Charmil SDK. So this is the component responsible for constructing modular and multi-repo Golang CLIs with Cobra, while providing a variety of high-level solutions for typical challenges like configuration, authentication, internationalization, etc. Using the Charmel SDK, these multi-repo CLIs can then be embedded into any host CLI at compile time. The Charmel SDK offers a variety of features, which are broadly divided into two components, utils and config. I'll discuss both of these components in detail in my upcoming slides. I'll start with the utils component first. The utils component offers a variety of utility packages that the developers can use in their Cobra CLI. The packages offered as of now are color, which allows printing a uniform set of colors for the CLI, IO streams, that defines the streams for your CLI, localize, that provides out of the box support for the localization of your CLI, logging, that provides a unified way to log messages across the entire Cobra CLI, and the last, example builder, provides ability to generate full example string of the command and append to the existing examples of the Cobra command. And that's not all. We're still working on adding more utility packages in the Charmel SDK. So you'll get to see many more of these in the future. Moving on to the second component of Charmel SDK, that is the config package, which offers config management functionalities across the CLIs. Now you must be wondering that why do we even need a config management package in the first place? As you know, plugin CLIs can exist on their own and will have their own config. So if we integrate any plugin CLI with a host CLI, we will end up having two different config files. And if 2 doesn't sound like a worrisome number to you, then imagine a host CLI being integrated with 10 different plugin CLIs. In that case, we will have 11 different config files to manage, which I'm sure no one would want to. So in order to avoid this, we need to have a way to compose config and share the common parts between the host CLIs and the plugin CLIs. And here's where the Charmel config management package comes to the rescue. So the Charmel config package offers a convenient mechanism for both the plugin and the host developers to manage configurations in the CLI applications. It maintains all available configurations in a single centralized local config file. It helps the CLIs in standalone mode to read or write configurations from or to a local config file, whereas it helps the plugin CLIs in integrated mode to load or save their CLI configurations from or to their host CLI local config file with ease. And with this, we're done with the Charmel SDK.
Hi everyone, I am Ankit and I worked on this project Charmel during this summer. So let me walk through you the most interesting part of this project, that is Charmel validator. So let's move to the code. Here I have opened the raw CLI, that is app services CLI. I'm in the root command and I have opened this file known as validator test. So here you can see I have used Golang testing library. Here I am passing this command, root command of the CLI, and this validator config into a function known as rules.execute rules. So what does this function return? It will return the slice of validation errors, and build can fail if this test doesn't pass. So let me try to run this test. Yeah, you can see there are some checks that are failing, like args must be present. This is due to this rule, must exist. It is saying that args must be present. Use does not follow the given like expression. Okay, it is because of this rule. So we can fix them and we can let the build pass, and it will enable the developers to follow the latest like industry standards. Let me walk through the next part of this validator. Like if you want to skip some commands from the validator, like if you want to skip a single command, my CLI actions create. How can you skip that? You just need to add your command into a skip commands map and mark it as true. And if you want to skip like the all the children of the actions, my CLI actions create, actions submit, actions delete. So one thing you can do is specify the specific commands. You can write this 4 times, but there is much more better way. You can type my CLI actions asterisk to the true, and it will automatically handle for you. Next is skip command for the specific route. So here you can see I'm in the length route, and I've specified this my CLI actions create to be true, and length will not be validated for this command. So friends, that's it for the validator. Let's move to the next part of the Charmel. Now let's come to the another interesting part of this project, that is starter. So by name it's clear it would be starter template for creating CLI. So it is, it is very hard to create a Cobra CLI from the scratch, like while following all the industry standards. So we have done it for you. So what does it have? It has main.go, which has all the files, all the things initialized. It is using all the Charmel utilities actually. So we have validation test, which is using Cobra validator. We have locals for the existing commands. We have documentation helpers, that is using Cobra documentation helpers. We have some update helpers, flag util. We have like for now it is only one command, but you can extend it on the go. And you have completion commands which will help in like auto completion of this command. Now we have a factory, so it is the main thing. It provides these 4 things out of the box, like input output streams, logger, localizer, and config handler. Then then we have some scripts uh, for checking documentation, generating change log, which will be like connected to GitHub workflows, and like you can use them. So that's it for the like starter. But you will be thinking how to access the starter. What is the starter? So here comes our next thing, that is Charmel CLI. So I have grabbed the binary of the Charmel CLI. Let's run it. Yo, you can see it has init command, run command, add command. So let's try initializing a project. Oh yeah, repo name, let me test and hi CLI. Yeah, okay. So you can see whatever there was in starter is being generated here. So like it's a like it's very good thing. Okay. So we can do a go mode tidy and go run top slash cmd slash admin written hi. So yeah, so like under 5 seconds I have ready with my structure. So it is just like create react application. So next thing we can explore is Charmil mode, the Charmil CLI. So let's, it has a add command feature. So we can add a command. We can specify the command name. Let's give it host. Anything we can give, and it is optional, but I want to give the path as /pkg/cmd, because you can see all my commands are present here. pkg/cmd. I will hit enter and magic will happen. Yeah, I have post command. You can move the locals in this locals directory. That's not an issue. And but yeah, like you have the shell command ready. So yeah, so other things Namit will be taking you over. So yeah, that's it for my side. Thank you for listening.
Now let's move to the other feature I worked on. That is the Charmel CRUD generator. So the Charmel CRUD generator is offered in the Charmel CLI component, with the help of which developers can eliminate a lot of boilerplate in CLIs containing multiple services that perform standard CRUD operations. Using a set of predefined templates, this command generates CRUD command packages in the directory specified by the CRUD path flag, as well as its corresponding language file in the directory specified by the locale path flag. These generated files can then be modified by the developers to fit their own needs. So the much awaited demo time has now arrived. Enough with the talks, let's just move into the demo. So I've kept a basic CLI ready over here using the Charmel init command. I'm building the CLI and running it to check what subcommands it has already. And as you can see, it just has the completion and help command at this moment. So now I'll run the Charmil CRUD command to generate CRUD templates for my project. I put the command over here along with the necessary flags. The singular and plural flags hold the name of the CRUD object in singular and plural forms respectively. And the CRUD path flag stores the path where we want to generate our CRUD command packages. Whereas the local path flag will store the path where we want to generate the language file for our CRUD commands. Now I'll run this command by hitting enter, and you'll be able to see the files being generated on the left panel. Here is the language file which is stored in the path that we had specified through the local path flag. And these are all the CRUD packages that were generated in the path that we specified through the CRUD path flag. So to study how Charmil works in case of an integrated host plugin pair of CLIs, we created a proof of concept taking help of an actual CLI in production. Now I know you must be tired of hearing this everywhere, but trust me, this demo does use a production ready CLI. Still don't believe me? See it for yourself in the next slide. So we picked up a production CLI named Rouse, which is built on the top of the Cobra framework, and divided it into two separate CLIs present in different GitHub repositories. The left repository named Charmil plugin example has the Cobra command service registry of the Rouse CLI, whereas the repo on the right named Charmil host example contains all the commands of the Rouse CLI except the service registry command. Now in the demo I'll show you how both of these separate CLIs, after integrating with the help of the Charmel framework, works the same way as the Rouse CLI as a whole does. So here on the left I have the Charmel host example repo, and on the right I have the Charmel plugin example repo. I'll now build and run both the CLIs to show you what commands they have right now. And as you can see, the left CLI has all the commands except the service registry command of the Rouse CLI, whereas the right CLI has the service registry command of the Rouse CLI. And now I'll show you the config files of both the CLIs. This is the config file of the Charmel host example CLI, and as you can see, the service registry field has a null value over here. Whereas this is the config file of the Charmel plugin example CLI, and even it has a null value because no field in the config has been initialized yet. So let's just initialize a few fields in the config. Here I'm assigning some random values to the name and instance ID fields of the plugin config. Now I'll build and run the plugin CLI to show you how the contents have been updated in the config file of the plugin CLI. And as you know, both of these CLIs are currently in standalone mode. That is, they haven't been integrated yet. So ideally, the config file of the host example shouldn't have the updated contents of the service registry, which is exactly the case over here. So let's integrate both the CLIs now. The code which I have uncommented right now is what will be responsible for linking both the CLIs. And as you can see, I'm adding the service registry command to the root command of the host CLI, which has been imported from the plugin CLI. On building and running the host CLI, we can now see that the service registry command is available over here too. On checking the updated config file of the host CLI, we see that the plugin config has now been included over here, which is done by the Charmel config management package. This shows that both the CLIs have now been integrated successfully using the Charmel framework. Let's move back to the slides now. As a final task of GSOC, Ankit and I made changes to the RAW CLI, which is hosted in a GitHub repository named App Services CLI under the Red Hat Developer Organization. We made it use the Charmel validator for the testing and regulation of various attributes of the Cobra commands used in the CLI by applying the predefined validation rules offered by the Charmel validator. Although this might be the end of our GSOC journeys, but definitely not the end of our open source journey. We'll continue being involved in the Charmel project even after GSOC ends. There is one important component of Charmel yet to be implemented, that is the Charmel command registry, which was out of scope for our GSOC project, and I plan to work on it soon. Just to give you an overview of the Charmel command registry, so the Charmel command registry will allow developers to create an external index of command line tools that can be dynamically installed and integrated into their host CLI. And that's all from my end. Thank you for your time and attention.